And then, after Lola and Michael got through burying the family, they walked back down to the ghetto, down into their apartment. There were people going around with loudspeakers, and they were yelling for everyone to go to the Judenrat, to the Jewish police station, and register. Everyone had to register. They wanted to know who survived the raid, the pogrom. And those who survived, they wanted to know where they live and all of this. You had to register. If you didn't register, chances are you wouldn't get any rations. So you would starve to death. You had no choice. So here we are, we're all lined up, in line at the police station to register. Now Lola was ahead of the line. My sister was first, and then her husband and my parents and I. And as we were standing in line, at the head of the line was a little window. The other side of the window there was an SS man, a young man. He was taking down the information. Behind this SS man was an older head of the Gestapo, was sitting there. His name was Schoenberg. He apparently just came into town. He replaced a young head of Gestapo who went to the front, and he took his place. So he was watching the proceeding, what was going on. And as Lola came up to the window, they asked her her name. She gave her name, the address, and they asked her her age, and they asked her where she was born. She says she was born in Munkac. Munkac, she says, where is that? She said, well, that's Hungary now. Remember, my mother's side of the family, most of my siblings were born there too, in Munkac.
Can you spell that?
M-U-N-K-A, I think it's C-H, C-S, Munkac, C-S. It may be off a little because it's also spelled Munkachevo in Czech. The Hungarian spell is Munkac, the Czech spell Munkachevo. Anyway, that's the place, he says, in Hungary. The older head of Gestapo, who was right behind this young man, says, stop right away. I want this young woman in my office tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Now, you can imagine when Lola heard that, her knees started to shake. And he's telling this to to a Jewish policeman, not Farber, the friend of theirs, but this was also, I forgot his name, a very friendly policeman, one that they knew also from childhood. And he says to him, I want to bring this woman to me at 10 o'clock in my office. Well, when we heard it, all of us walked away from the registration window, and we all went back to the apartment, trying to calm her down, but we were all practically crying our eyes out. Why? Why would they pick on this good-looking young woman to come to his office? Well, the imagination went on. You can just imagine, and I understand that this happened before. They're young women, and they, whatever they wanted to do with them, they did. But obviously we were sick, and we were up, vigilant with her all night, holding like a vigil with her all night. Next morning, about 9:30, there's a knock on the door, and this policeman comes, says, Lola, it's time to leave. So all of us, the whole family, and a lot of friends and relatives, they all went with her to the gate of the ghetto, And of course they went across, and she was white and shaking. I remember my father saying something as she left the other side. She says, Laiku, he called her Laiku, remember your heritage. He said something, Al Kiddush Hashem, and the name of and the holiness of God or something. The inference there was, it's better to die than giving in to those murderers. Anyway, she is now on the other side, and she's begging this Jewish policeman, please don't leave me alone with him. And he says, okay, not that he had a choice, but he tried to calm her down. Now she's telling what happened when she came to that house where the Gestapo headquarters was. It used to be a Jewish home that they confiscated, obviously, and they made it into a Gestapo headquarters. There are several rooms and offices, and as they went in, the very last office is where Schoenberg was behind the desk. They can see him. Now Schoenberg saw them come in. He stood up behind the desk. And as he stood up, that was very unusual. Lola's coming closer. He pulls up a chair and he tells her to sit down. Well, that was out of character completely. Because in those days, if a Jewish person walked on the sidewalk and a German approached, you had to get off the sidewalk, get around them, remove your cap, and here to have the head of the Gestapo pull up a chair for a Jewish young woman to sit down was so out of character. And he says to her, calm down. He saw she was shivering. Calm down. Sit down, please. Were you really born in Munkacs? She says, yes. I was born in Munkacs. Do you speak Hungarian? Yes, because she went to school there. She spoke beautiful Hungarian. And he knew a few words of Hungarian. Then he started to quiz her about Hungarian food, like goulash and all kind of different things. She knew everything. So he puts his arm on her armband and he rips it off. He says to her, you are one lucky young woman. You are an Ausländerin, which means you are a foreign citizen. You're Hungarian. Hungary is an ally of ours. We have no quarrel with Hungary. Therefore, we have no jurisdiction over you. You shouldn't even be wearing that. You shouldn't be living in the ghetto. You have a right to live anywhere you want. Well, she started to cry from happiness. Imagine. She just couldn't believe. But she had enough presence of mind to right away say, well, what about my husband and my parents and my brothers? So he asked her, well, where were they born? Now everyone was born in Munkacs, of course, naturally. So he orders his secretaries to make out papers like certificates of birth certificates and things like that for the whole family with their names, that they're foreigners, they're Hungarian citizens, and as such they have the right to reside outside the ghetto. They don't have to wear the Star of David. No one ever heard of that before. It was completely the first time. And no one could understand why he did it. I can speculate. I think I know why he did it. He just replaced this young head of Gestapo, and he was there all night seeing what was going on, all these atrocities. I guess he wanted to redeem his conscience, or somehow he felt he had to do something to make him feel better, he saw this young woman and he decided she's in Hungary. They have no quarrel with Hungary, so he may have seen a way to help some of us. And by doing this, when she was so overcome with joy, she actually took his hand and started to kiss him, and Dankeschön, and Dankeschön. She just couldn't get over this. Whoever heard of a Jewish woman kissing a head of Gestapo for joy? It was something unbelievable. Anyway, they went back to the ghetto, and this couple, and they came back, everybody was waiting at the gate for them and praying. And when they come back, they saw Lola. She looked pretty cheerful. She didn't look, be expected the worst. And she looked pretty cheerful. Anyway, what happened? So she tells the story. And this policeman was there to verify this is what happened. I couldn't believe, you wouldn't believe what really happened to Lola. Well, among the people who were waiting for her to come back, the family and all the friends, there was a rabbi, the Bobover rabbi. That's Rabbi Halberstam was his name. He was very well known. He had his own community in Poland, and everybody knew the Bobover rabbi. He was a very pious man, but he didn't look like a rabbi there. He was wearing a nice suit, shaved face, no beard, and he was very highly educated, and he had a typewriter. He worked for the police station. He had a typewriter there, that the only typewriter in the police station, it was his, they gave him to use. He picked up Lola, and he started to dance with her on the street. He says, "Lolo, you're a modern-day Queen Esther." She didn't know what he meant by it. Well, she knew the story about Esther, I don't have to repeat it. Everyone knows the Purim story. You're a modern, you don't know what you have done. He says, what did I do? Through you, you will be able to save many, many people out of this ghetto. Apparently, this rabbi realized that if we could duplicate those documents that were made for Lola and for us, then there would be a chance for other people to get out of the ghetto with false documents. And we started, and they started a whole factory in the basement there, where my brother, my older brother, and my mother, my sister, and everyone did their part. The rabbi had the typewriter. He says, you can use that. And he knew somebody who had a rubber ball. Well, they took the rubber ball and they duplicated the rubber stamp, just like the Schoenberg had, And they had everything, and they had a whole factory now duplicating and falsifying those papers. Now, they offered my brother and my brother-in-law any amount of money they wanted to make out papers for other people. It's a lifesaver. But they said, we don't want your money. What we want is a promise. Once you're outside the ghetto, if you make arrangements to leave Poland to go to Hungary, because Hungary was still a free country, that was in 1943. If you make arrangements, there's some people who are smuggling into Hungary, but it costs an awful lot of money, fortunes. We didn't have a penny to our name. We wanted their promise that they will take along our whole family as they escape Poland. They shook hands on that, and everyone was manufacturing these things. To date, there may be dozens of people who survived who, because of Lola's paper, those false papers, including the rabbi. In fact, when he escaped from there to Hungary, from Hungary to Bucharest in Romania, from there he went to London. During the end of the war, he was in London, and from London he has a whole dynasty in Brooklyn, in Borough Park, the Bubavur dynasty, and I mean thousands and thousands of people. He died already a few years ago out of natural causes. He wasn't a young man anymore, but he survived. His family, most of his family survived, not all of them, and dozens of other people because of a Lola document of that one item. And I think Schomburg knew it. Schomburg knew that they're falsifying papers and all of this, but he looked the other way. And from what I heard from other people, that eventually he was shot by the Nazis. They realized he is a friend of the Jewish people or whatever. He was what we call a righteous Gentile.
Yeah.
And anyway, a lot of people are alive today, including myself, my sister, because of what he did. What he did. So here we are outside the ghetto, and we rented an apartment. My mother, my father, myself, Lola and Michal, they lived somewhere else in another apartment close by. And of course my sister, and Moshe, he was married already, he lived with his wife. Michael, my brother-in-law, found a truck driver who was hauling coal. And he approached him. He says, look, if you could make your truck into a double-decker where there'll be coal on top, and between the chassis and the coal there'll be like an empty space where people can hide, either on their stomach or on their back, and we will pay you a lot of money for this. And if you can take him to the Czech-Hungarian border, we will make arrangements for a smuggler to smuggle us across the border. But to that, if you could do that, just take us to the border, you will receive X number of dollars for each person, all right? Now, the arrangement was made. Those people with the false papers are to pay for 2 in each transport. So he agreed, and he made that truck. But no one knew if he can trust him, because they had to have the money up front. They were asking the money up front. And then if they turned in a Jewish person trying to escape to the Gestapo, they got paid ransom for each person. So how do we know if we can trust this person or not? Anyway, the first group of 10 people were going to go into that truck. And my sister Lola and her husband wanted my parents to go first, but they wouldn't hear of it. Anyway, because Lola was not sure that you can trust this driver, they volunteered to be first with other 8 people. And they would only allow 2 from our family to go along for nothing, because they paid for our way. With each transport, 2 from the family. So the first one, Lola and Michael went with the other group of 8. They had a password. When the driver comes back the following day, if he didn't have the right password, that means there was trouble. Stay away from him. But if he came back with the right password, then they made it to the border. Anyway, he came back the following day with the right password. And we were also relieved. Now was turned for other 10 people to go, which was 8 plus me and my little brother Tuli. So I remember the truck pulled into a barn at night, and we all climbed inside the truck. I took with my brother, we were close to the cab at the end there. Our heads were close to the cab. And in the morning, toward the morning, the truck would pull out of the ghetto, go towards the border of Czechoslovakia, Hungary. Excuse me.
This was a different driver.
But this is the same driver.
Oh, same driver.
Yeah.
Who knew the password?
Yeah, we knew the password. It's the same driver, the same truck. We got in. In the morning, he's leaving on the way to the border with all of us. And we're about an hour out of Bochnia. Halt, we're being stopped by the Germans. And through the cracks of the truck, we can tell there were Germans there. We see them with rifles. They stopped. The truck stopped, and they go up and they talk to the driver, the truck driver. Even though I spoke German, and I couldn't hear it because the roar of the engine was so loud that, those engines were pretty loud in those days, not like they are today, nice and quiet. I couldn't hear what he said. But after a minute or two, the truck started to move. So we felt relieved. They don't know. When suddenly I looked out the crack, I see that on one step there's a soldier with a rifle. On the other step of the cab, there's another soldier with a rifle. And now we hear people walking on top of the coal. And the coal dust started to filter through. My brother was about to sneeze from all that black stuff, so I held his nose and mouth, because we didn't know if they know, but we were certain they're taking us to a forest or a cemetery, they're going to shoot us. What else? This went on for 2 hours. 2 hours later, the truck stopped. The minute it stopped, we were already saying our prayers. 2 minutes later, the truck is moving again. They were only hitchhiking. That's all they were doing. They were hitchhiking. They had no idea that people are hiding in that truck. Oh. So they said, "Danke schön," and they just walked off. What a relief. It's like being reborn again. Yeah. Imagine. So now we're on our way to the border. It was nighttime already. We arrive on top of a mountain, a forest, it's all full of forest. And they stop. He opens it up and he tells us all to climb out. We climb out of there. He tells us that about 300 or 400 yards on top of that mountain in the forest, we're going to see a tool shed. There's a tool shed there. Hiding near the tool shed, there is a forest ranger. That forest ranger is our smuggler. And he will be waiting for you. So you walk up that hill quietly, which we did, and sure enough, we met this forest ranger. And after we were all up there, we were all black from soot, from coal dust, He took us, about a half a mile away from there. And there was a cabin, and his wife was waiting and cooking food for us in the cabin. We all came in, we had a chance to wash up and clean up, and she made food for us, we all ate. Not too far from the cabin, we can see there are searchlights going back and forth. And we see barbed wire there, and guards walking between the wires, guards with their dogs walking. This was German guards with the police dogs, and they were border guards. So we had to cross that area where they are, and it was the middle of the night. However, this smuggler knew when the shifts are changing. So around 3 a.m. in the morning, all these guards walked down the hill, a piece down the hill. They met fresh guards. They had a little ceremony between the two groups. During that period, we had to shimmy up there, be careful of the searchlights, in between searchlights cross, and be careful of the barbed wire, and be extra quiet, because the dogs were not too far away, and they could sniff us out or hear. They have good hearing.
Yeah.
Anyway, at 3 a.m. we started to, and we saw the guards are going down, and we came up there. He was holding the wires for us to go between the wires and between the searchlights, and we shimmied across to the other side. But he told us, once you reach the other side, there is a steep ravine, and you'll probably tumble or slide down that ravine. Be extra careful not to make a sound. Don't say a word while you're sliding, because they'll hear you. But don't worry, because the ravine is not too steep, and there'll be a plateau on the bottom. It'll catch you. Just have patience and be quiet. I remember I took my little brother by his hand, just as we crossed on the other side, and we're sitting like this. All of a sudden we see there is a big, but it's so pitch black, it was impossible to see anything. But suddenly we started to slide and sort of tumble a little bit. After about 3 or 4 minutes of this, we hit a plateau. And when we came to, "Are you all right?" I asked him in Yiddish, "Are you okay?" He says, "Yes, he's fine." Then suddenly, I feel a tap on my shoulder. And somebody is saying in Yiddish, "Beinish?" That's my Yiddish name. Beinish? Only my family called me that. "I'm your Uncle Baruch. I'm your Uncle Baruch, your mother's brother." When I heard that, we couldn't believe. We embraced him. "What are you doing out here in the wilderness?" Well, he says that Lola already told him. He found out from Lola, she crossed a couple days earlier, exactly where the spot is, and that we are coming. So he waited there for us. Well, we made it, and we were so relieved. Now he takes us to this first town, which was Bardiyov. In Bardiyov, my other uncle, Bela, another brother of my mother, had an apartment there. He lived there for a reason, because he knew people were smuggling across, and he wanted to help them to smuggle them into Hungary. That's why he stayed there. They took us in, we cleaned up, we had fresh clothes, they had prepared clothes, they found out our sizes, we had all new clothes, and we showered, we ate. Next morning, we were supposed to cross another border into Hungary, from Czechoslovakia to Hungary. But the border there, you didn't have any more Germans. Now you had Czech, and you had Hungarian border guards. The Hungarian border guards were called kokoshes. They were gendarmes. They had red jackets, and they had these steel helmets with ostrich feathers in them, ostrich feathers. And they were walking back and forth, but this part was easy because we had a guide. We had someone who went through right at border. It was in a town. That little town, I forgot the name of it. So we were now dressed like we were inhabitants of the town, and we were talking to each other and nonchalantly walking across from Czechoslovakia to Hungary. And we came into Hungary. We walked to another town, and we took a little buggy ride. We went to a railroad station, and we went into Budapest. They took us to Budapest.